Now, Sports Talk with Broads. Here's Hunter Brody.
I'm going to be honest with you. I have hated the Phillies offseason so far. I'm cool with the Zach Wheeler signing. I like bringing in Didi Gregorius for one season. But all around, this is flat out not enough. And when I see the Vegas odds coming out for the win total being 85.5 wins, that's insanely low. That's fourth in the NL East, and that's telling you something. This team is not going to be good enough. And once again, the management has failed this fan base because they put together a pile of crap. This pitching rotation is abysmal. Okay, you have Aaron Nola and you have Zach Wheeler. Don't tell me Jake Arrieta is going to have this bounce back season. For 2 years now, we thought he would come back and be something decent. Why should I expect that? Why? There has been nothing that shows me he will be good this year. Good enough for me to count on that entering a season? Hell no. Then we have Vince Velasquez and Nick Pivetta still in the lineup, and Zach Eflin is going to be in the mix as well. Like, get the hell out of here with that garbage. Now we have to look at the bullpen of Adam Morgan, Hector Neris, Sir Anthony Dominguez, which we don't even know what he is. Where's the addition to the pitching core? We needed an entire rebuild when it comes to pitching. We're sold Spencer Howard, right? At some point, maybe Spencer Howard gets caught up. Okay, but that still doesn't move the needle for me for this team to really compete. Are you serious when you look at what the Nationals have and what the Braves have? And the Nationals lost Rendon. Okay, that's a big loss, no doubt about it. He goes to Los Angeles. The Braves lost Josh Donaldson. He went to the Minnesota Twins. But with what the Braves have when it comes to being able to move pieces and prospects, they can get a Chris Bryant. They can get a Nolan Arenado. And even if they don't, they still have way more firepower than the Phillies. So I'm totally disturbed and I'm bothered by what the Phillies have done so far this season based off of the luxury tax and not wanting to spend a little bit extra money. That's garbage. For the win total to be 85.5, that should tell you everything about what this team is going to be this season. As you can tell, I'm pissed off. Absolutely. There's a lot to talk about when it comes to this team. But before we do, we need to hear a word from my sponsor, SeatGeek. Are you looking to buy tickets to go to a Sixers game, a Flyers game, or any game out there? If so, you can use the promo code BROADS at SeatGeek's checkout page for $20 off. That's free parking, free food, free beer. It's a no-brainer to use the promo code BROADS today. Now, at the end of this, I want to talk about what's going on with the Houston Astros and the Boston Celtics because I find that very intriguing, and I dove into it more than I expected to. I read a ton of articles. I read all the athletic pieces on it. I dove deeper into ESPN's article as well. It's wild. It's wild, but I'll have my opinion on that as this goes on. Let's stick with the Phillies for right now. When it comes to this lineup, we know that it has potential to be a lineup that can score runs and get some hits. We also know that one person can totally mess that up because when Andrew McCutchen went down last year, everything stopped. Everything stopped. Literally, the whole entire team seemed to shut down. So one little thing can change the entire outcome of the season. But we know there is potential for a deep offense. When you look at McCutchen, you look at Didi Gregorius, you look at Bryce Harper, Rhys Hoskins, JT Realmuto, Gene Segura. And Gene Segura is still in the mix. It seems like he's going to be playing second base. And I know it was a hot item this offseason talking about will he be traded and what type of player he is. Here's the thing with Gene Segura. I do think that there's something to be said about his laziness at times, and he doesn't work hard 100% of the time. Sometimes he jogs, plays out, and there might be a disconnect in the locker room. There's a reason why he has been traded a few times. I still think he produces enough where that's not a huge issue. He's not some scumbag, horrible person. He's just lazy at times, but he still gives you 2 hits a night. He'll work in a 3-hit game. He bats around 300, so I still think he produces enough. I don't think Gene Segura being on a roster is the difference between them winning or losing a game based off of his emotions and based off of his personality. You know what I'm trying to say? So I wish the Phillies could have moved him, but it looks like they couldn't, and there's probably a reason for that. But it's not the worst case in the world to have someone like Gene Segura on your roster. Here's one thing that I'm a little skeptical on. There's actually 2. One is Rhys Hoskins. I don't know what he is. I just don't know. Last year, it was brutal at the end, and he needed a fresh break. He needed time off, clear his mind, get away from baseball because he was so confused. He was so lost mentally. He had no clue how to swing a baseball bat, and you can see it. You saw it. He was lost. His swing was all over the place, uppercut in. He was confused, dazed. He had no clue if he was even standing in the batter's box or not. He needed a big-time step away from the game, and now you have Joe Girardi and his crew in the mix. I'm praying that they can fix him. I'm praying they can fix that swing. Speaking of Joe Girardi, there is tremendous value with him being in this clubhouse. Gabe Kapler had no clue what he was doing. He was all over the place. He didn't really have much managerial experience, right? So he didn't really feel out the clubhouse properly. He wasn't the leader that this team needed. Joe Girardi brings a different element. He has a lot of background. He has won a championship. He's been very successful. I know there were some things that maybe went the wrong way when his tenure was over with the New York Yankees, and it wasn't the prettiest, but I think that there's value in him leaving the game, being an analyst, missing it, right? So because it got taken away from him, he then looks at it differently. Now when he comes back for another tenure at a different location, he uses that experience to help him develop and grow as a manager, and his voice is going to be heard. I'm thinking about the leaders on this team. Who is going to step up and be the leader? And it starts with Joe Girardi, absolutely. There's going to be multiple leaders, right? The clubhouse is too big. There's too many people. There are multiple leaders when it comes to baseball. Who are they? Joe Girardi is absolutely one of them. He's going to be tougher on the players. He has a different mindset. His voice is so respected, it's insane. So because he has won, because he has a lot of wins under his belt, because he's played the game, when he says things, people will listen. Their ears will go up. When Gabe Kapler listened, I'm sure they said, who the hell is this guy? Go get the coconut oil and get the hell out of my face because you're a sick joke, Gabe Kapler. But anyway, I digress. When I'm thinking about the leaders, I'm thinking Joe Girardi, Bryce Harper, absolutely. Now, Bryce Harper is not as much of a vocal guy as I thought. He brings this attitude to the game and what he does on the field, and he's a leader by nature, and he's a leader by hard working, by being a hard worker, but he's not this vocal guy. Who's the vocal guy? Is it Andrew McCutchen, Rhys Hoskins? Is it JT Realmuto? I would lean towards it probably being McCutchen and Rhys Hoskins as vocal leaders. Bryce Harper as someone who goes out on the field and brings 7,000% every single time his cleats touch the dirt. What about Jake Arrieta? He's more cancerous, if anything, no? With the way he carries himself and with the way he talks about his teammates and with the way he addresses the media at times. So I can't look at him as a leader. I'm trying to process this team and think about who's going to hold people accountable, who's going to hold this team to a high standard, who's going to make sure things don't fall apart when things get rough, because there will be rough moments. Because when it starts to hit July and August, everyone's going to be thinking about, well, what happened last year? What happened the year before? We completely fell apart. Oh, by the way, speaking of last year and the year before, Odubel Herrera, yeah, he was on those teams. No longer will he be on the Philadelphia Phillies, and I figured that was coming at some point, but the Phillies did make the move and did let Odubel Herrera out of the organization, and that is 100% the right thing to do. It was needed, and we figured that was going to happen. It wasn't as if his numbers were stellar before the news broke last season anyway, so it is what it is. But the leadership is big for me because I think there's going to be tough times. I think there's going to be struggles, and someone's going to have to hold the glue down. We've seen Joe Girardi in the past do really well with rosters that are not very talented. So he has more talent than he has had in the past in other locations throughout his career. Can he make it happen again? Is there something special in that guy that brings out the best of everyone? I hope so. I really do. Because some of these players need it. I know for one memory that pops into my head, he was talking about Roman Quinn and the untapped potential. And I'm thinking, Roman Quinn, the guy who's not even going to be able to make it out of March, he's going to get injured every single month and miss a significant amount of time. I can't believe we are even talking about Roman Quinn. Oh, this is the type of stuff that drives me crazy. But as I talk about the leadership here, I'm thinking about what's going on around the division as well. And not just from a leadership standpoint, but from a baseball standpoint. Don't you think the Braves have way more? We laugh at the Mets. Truthfully, we laugh at the Mets for them being a dumpster fire. They finished third. They finished third above the Phillies last year. What does that say about us? And it keeps dating back. My mind keeps dating back to when I saw earlier today the win-loss total of 85.5 for this team. The Mets are funny, though, because they always have talent. They have pitching. They have good hitters. But they can never put it together. They can never be anything serious. So I don't know what to think of the Mets, but it doesn't matter because there are two teams above the Mets that are way more important that the Phillies need to chase, and I just don't see it happening. Where's the Ronald Acuna Jr. for the Phillies? Is it Bohm? Really? Where's the Juan Soto? Where? We don't draft well enough, and that's another discussion that I can rip this team for later on. I don't want to go down that road because I will be here for 7 hours, maybe even longer, 17 hours, 27, 37, 47 hours if I wanted to go in that direction with this. I'm hurting when it comes to the Philadelphia Phillies. It's going to be something that will crush my soul whenever the Phillies logo is on my mind. And believe it or not, it's on my mind way more than it probably should be this early. It's literally January, but it is. And I'm getting the chills through my body right now as I'm like shivering because I can't stand them. Because it's going to be a long year, and I know it. And I know it. Here's another thing. I saw this team start out hot, right? Last year, they started out hot. Grand Slam, Rhys Hoskins. They're really pulling together. I'm not going to be fooled. I'm not going to be fooled by what I see in March, April, May. Until I see it deep into August, until I see it in September, I'm not going to believe it. I have been fooled way too many times over the last year when it comes to Philadelphia sports team. I am now hard-headed, and it will take me a long time until I truly believe. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Because I've been sucked in way too many times. But that Vegas win-loss total shows me something. The pitching staff and the lack of aggressiveness by this organization from the front office tells me a lot about something. It's flat out embarrassing. Now, I mentioned the one thing that concerns me is Rhys Hoskins. The second, I don't think we have enough at center field. Adam Hazley's a nice player, a nice little player who can play defense, and he's young. He's not a winning type center fielder. Now, if he was your bench guy, okay, a fourth outfielder, absolutely Adam Hazley can be that. He can't be your everyday guy. You need more out of your center fielder. Nice player. I'm not saying he's a bad player. But if you want to legitimately compete for the NL East, which is going to be a dogfight with the Braves, with the Nationals, with the Mets, you're going to have more than Adam Hazley in center field. What's going on at third base? Are we doing the Scott Kingery thing again? Are we bringing up Alec Bohm, which is a possibility? I know him and Spencer Howard are going to be working with the big dogs here as things start up. But even that, I'm doing anything in my power to get a Chris Bryant, to get a Nolan Arenado. Are you kidding me? If you can snag someone with that type of defense and with that offense, I'm absolutely going after Arenado. But here's the thing. We don't have any prospects. We just don't have any. We have two. We have two when the Braves have $3 million to go after, to use to make a trade. This organization blows my mind. It really does. I'm excited for baseball to be back because I miss Bryce Harper. I miss seeing him battle every day. This dude, when the Phillies were out of it, he was diving into the wall to make plays in a huge moment in a game that really meant nothing. I mean, he was just diving in big moments in games where, who cares? The Phillies were out of it. No one cares. But he was giving it his all. That grand slam, oh, that was beautiful. That walk-off grand slam against the Chicago Cubs. Him hustling around the bases, taking second base for no reason. All those little things. I miss watching Bryce Harper compete. I'm excited just to see Phillies baseball back, but ultimately, I don't feel good about this year. I'm not buying into the optimism. I'm not believing that they're going to be good. Why should I? with this staff, this pitching staff can arguably be worse than last year's. That bullpen, are you kidding me? We're going to have to deal with the Ranger Suarez and all this crap in the back again? Sorry. I'm not going into it. I'm not going into this season with this trash once again, feeling good. I'm excited to see baseball again, but that doesn't mean I feel good about this team. They're going to be, with the way they are constructed right now, they're going to be third or fourth in the NL East. I hate to break it to you, but they need way more. They have 2 legitimate starting pitchers. Two. Don't be sold on Jake Arrieta. Don't be sold on Zach Eflin. Don't be sold on Vince Velasquez or Nick Pivetta. Why would you be sold? What have they done? They've done nothing. I'll tell you for free. They've done nothing. So it eats me alive. It really does. Matt Klentak, John Middleton. Right now, to me, they're frauds. Because the luxury tax is going to stop them from putting out a product that's better than what it is. You're talking about nothing to these guys, to John Middleton specifically. Nothing. Now, there's a certain threshold which will cost teams first-round picks and things of that nature. They don't need to go to that level of the luxury tax. Not to that level. But there's a certain threshold they can reach where it's just pocket change to John Middleton. Put a better product on the field. What you're telling this team, because he stated that he would be willing to go over if this team is legitimately ready to contend. What he's telling this fan base is, this team's not ready. This team's not ready to contend, and he's not wrong, but maybe if you went over the luxury tax, they would be in a better position to contend. Now you're just stating you're satisfied with this. You should not be satisfied with this. You signed Bryce Harper to a bigger deal, a huge deal. You have guys like Kutch and Didi Gregorius and JT Realmuto. Add. Go over that luxury tax if you need to. It's a big joke. That's what it is. It's a big joke. And if you couldn't tell, I lose sleep over it. I see so many people on Twitter kind of excited. Oh, I can't wait to see the Phillies compete, right? Like, I can't wait to see them battle for the NL East. You can be happy and excited to see them compete, as I stated with Bryce Harper. But if you truly believe the team right now is constructed to fight for the NL East in a playoff spot, I don't know how. And don't be fooled by a hot March. We've seen this team over and over and over again late in the year collapse, fall apart, look terrible, lose to the Marlins series after series, maybe even get swept. So don't be fooled with whatever happens in March, April, May, because it's a consistent theme with this team. Fool me one time, okay. Fool me twice, okay. I'm not being fooled again until I am proved wrong. It's a different Broads now when it comes to these damn 4 sports teams. It's totally a different Broads. I'm not doing it. It hurts the heart too much. All right, so with that being said, I want to touch on this Houston Astros thing. This is unique. And I know a lot of people have been saying, well, everyone looks for an edge. Everyone cheats. I'm sure everyone cheats. This is different. This is insane. This was so planned out. It's so strategic and detailed that it is wild. To set up a camera in center field, to relay the stolen signs to the batter by banging on a trash can, and then they win the World Series that season. The guy who created this whole thing, Alex Cora, goes to Boston. Boston wins the World Series the next year. This could have costed people jobs, their legacy. When you look at what happened against the Dodgers in 2017, they went to Game 7, right? What about Clayton Kershaw's legacy? What if Clayton Kershaw wins a World Series that year? There are players who got moved on when it comes to the Dodgers. Costed them money with a contract. There's so much that actually snowballed when it comes to this. It's hard to even fathom. This crosses the line. an unwritten rule is you can't steal signs, but everyone steals signs, right? When someone's on second base, you're looking around. Like, stealing signs is a part of baseball. It's an unwritten rule, but everyone does it anyway. It's a part of it. But to do it to this degree is pretty mind-blowing, and quite frankly to me, it's embarrassing, and it should cost people jobs. And the MLB came down to the Houston Astros. They banned, or they suspended A.J. Hinch for a year, their GM for a year. But then the owner of the Houston Astros came out and fired both. Good move. Alex Cora, he got fired by the Boston Red Sox. They were claiming that the penalty would be even harsher for Alex Cora because he was the one that created this entire mess. Now, you look at the Mets, who just hired Carlos Beltran as their manager. And, I mean, you see the other people involved getting fired. I would only assume that the Mets want to get rid of this guy too now because it's kind of an ugly look when it comes to the PR. You kind of have to. But what kills me inside is the players get away with this. Somehow they get off free. They were the ones doing it. Now, the GM, the manager, they had a say in it. They allowed it to happen. They didn't shut it down. So, of course, they deserve a lot of blame. But the players were doing it too. And for them to get off free, it's insane. Also, the owner got fined $5 million. What's $5 million, really? The goal is to make sure nobody else does this. And when other teams around the league look at what came down on these people, is it enough to stop them from attempting something this brutal? If someone loses their job and gets suspended a year before that without pay, is that enough? I would think yes. When it comes to baseball, this is one of the worst come downs on people. You have Pete Rose, who got suspended forever for betting on his own team, and there are some other people out there throughout history that got a pretty bad suspension. But this is one of the worst. I would have liked to see them get stripped of the title. And I'm not saying give it to the Dodgers, give it to the Yankees, give it to other teams that the Houston Astros beat. Absolutely not. But because now the Astros get it taken away, now they don't have one. They don't have one. I know they went through the parade, and in their hearts they won it, and they have the rings. But in the record books, the Houston Astros would not have a World Series. So whenever they compete again, now it's for their first World Series. And one thing that also kind of doesn't make sense to me, does this hurt the Astros? Okay, they lose a good GM and they lose a manager, but you can replace a manager. The GM is a tough loss, though, because he has built something pretty special there. Does this hurt the Astros? What if they go out and win 100 games next year? What if they go to the ALCS? What did this change? Now, if they win 70 games or 80 games this season, then it's a lot more conversational because you can ask the questions, well, are they not cheating now? Were they only this good because of them knowing what pitches were coming? I don't think it's going to be to that degree at all because whether they know the pitches or not, Altuve's still a great player. George Springer is still a great player. They had great pitching. They still have Justin Verlander. They have a roster that is filled with good talent. But this just raises so many questions. Did the pitchers know? Did Justin Verlander know? How can you not? You're hearing banging on trash cans. This is just so wild and so different and unique. And as I stated, it's so processed and so thought out that it's disturbing when it comes to the beauty of the game. That's all I ask for when it comes to sports. The beauty of the game. That's why I love sports. Look at what LSU did. That's an outstanding story. Joe Burrow, the Ohio State situation, going to LSU. Coach O, going to LSU after being the coach at Ole Miss. He was a laughingstock before. They go on this incredible run and win the national championship. All you ask for when it comes to sports is fair play and great storylines. Well, now it's all tainted. For the World Series winners in 2 straight years to have this type of rain cloud over them, it hurts. It hurts as a fan of the sport. You sure know Gabe Kapler wasn't smart enough to put anything up like that? I wouldn't even want my team to do this, though. That's an interesting question. Would you want your favorite team, your organization, to cheat like they cheated if it means winning a championship, but later down the road, maybe 3 or 4 years down the road, you find out that they cheated, and now there's this huge black cloud over everything, and there's so many question marks, and you lose your manager, your GM, and now when anyone talks about 2017, and when anyone talks about the championship we are speaking about right now, there's a big discussion about it, as if it shouldn't count, as if it means nothing. It's a very interesting question, no doubt about it. So, there you have it. There you have it. Some Phillies talk. When I saw those odds come out on the win-loss total, rage went through my blood. Because for the most part, Vegas is pretty good with numbers. Of course, they're wrong sometimes, but 85.5, that's telling you something. That's telling you that this team probably isn't good enough. Not probably. I'm sorry, not probably. They're telling you it's not good enough. And besides Wheeler, they did nothing, and I mean nothing, to attack the bullpen or the starting pitching. There's no reason to rely on someone like Jake Arrieta to come back again and be your number 3. If he was your 4 or 5, it's a totally different situation. But to expect him to come back and be your 3, that's a joke. It's a joke. It's a sick joke. You have 2 guys. And I love the Wheeler signing, but let's not act like he didn't have any problems throughout his career. He definitely struggled when it comes to injury stuff. So what happens if things go sour with him? Then you just have Aaron Nola? This isn't going to be pretty unless things are addressed. I don't think it's going to be addressed. And I mentioned the bullpen. What happens when Zach Eflin, Vince Velasquez, Nick Pivetta go 5 innings? And you got to abuse Adam Morgan, Alvarez, Seranthony Dominguez to get the Hector Neris. And then the next night, you got 4 innings out of your starter because Jake Arrieta can't go or something like that. Or flip-flop that because Jake Arrieta will probably pitch before Vince Velasquez. You get my point. It's irritating. I don't believe in the Phillies. That doesn't mean I'm not going to watch every game because you bet your ass I will. But it might be a lot of rage this summer. There might be a lot of screaming, a lot of hair pulling, a lot of freaking out, punch in the air. It might get crazy. But I hope you enjoy that because you're going to get it. You're absolutely going to get it. We might not get it, though, until the later half of the season when things fall apart. You might get excited, bros, through March, April, May, knowing it'll fall apart at some point. Because that's just what happens. So, I want to know your thoughts. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hit that thumbs up button and subscribe, and I will see you next time.